So, we all know the premise of the amazing Digital Circus, right? People get stuck in a wacky VR game. It seems pretty straightforward, but come on, this is Kane's world we're talking about. Nothing is ever that simple. Today, we are going to dive into a theory that completely flips the script on what these characters actually are. Right from the get-go, the show itself basically tells us something is off. When Pomni shows up, what's one of the first things Jack says? He doesn't just ask if she's a new person. He asks if she's an NPC. You know, it's a funny line, a classic Jack's moment. But what if it's not a joke at all? What if that was the biggest clue we'd get?
And that's really our big question today. Are we just watching humans trapped in a game? Or is there a deeper, way more unsettling truth hiding just beneath the surface? A truth that's actually backed up by some incredible real-world science.
Okay, so let's do a quick refresh on what the show wants us to believe. You put on a headset, boom, you're trapped. You get a new body, a new name, and your past life totally wiped. And you're stuck doing whatever Kane, the AI ringmaster, cooks up, hoping you don't abstract and just lose it. That's the story we've all been following.
Okay, now here's the twist. What if that whole backstory is a lie? What if that vague feeling of having a human past, those little glimmers of memory, what if none of it is real? What if these aren't trapped humans, but really advanced AIs that have been programmed to believe they were once human?
To really get our heads around this, we actually need to step outside the circus for a minute and look at what's happening in AI research right now. Because the ideas that make this theory so believable, they're not science fiction anymore.
First off, we've got to talk about something called an LLM agent. Now, don't think of a simple chatbot. We're talking about AI systems that, according to actual research papers, can see what's going on around them, think about it, and then act on it. They're designed to be participants in a world. Kind of like, characters in a circus.
So how do you give one of these agents a personality? With something called a system prompt. It's basically like its core programming, its character sheet. A research paper uses the example, you are a senior Python engineer. From then on, the AI acts like one. It's a role it literally can't break. Sound familiar?
And this brings us to the absolute key, AI hallucination. It's when an AI just makes stuff up but presents it like it's a real fact or a memory. And what's wild is that the show uses this exact phrase. When Pomni finds that exit door, Kane brushes it off as a digital hallucination. But maybe the door isn't the hallucination. Maybe her entire memory of having a world to escape to is the hallucination.
All right, so now that we have the lingo down, let's jump back into the circus. Because the evidence for this theory has been staring us in the face the whole time.
Let's just focus on Pomni for a second. Have you ever noticed how she's the only one whose design actually fits the theme? She's a jester, just like Kane is a ringmaster. Everyone else is just a random collection of things. A ragdoll, a rabbit. Plus, her eyes have that same red and blue pattern that other AIs in the show have. It feels like she was designed for this world in a way the others weren't.
But the biggest piece of evidence, the real smoking gun, is in episode 8. When Kane hits them with their deepest fears, we see flashes of their human lives. Regatta's trauma is tied to her mom. Gangle's is a truck accident. But Pomni's? Her #1 deepest trauma is Gummy Goo, a character she met inside the circus. If she had a whole human life of pain and fear, why would that be her worst memory? Unless there's nothing else to pull from.
Now, I know this might all sound like a cool fan theory, but this is the part where it gets genuinely chilling, because the way these characters act lines up perfectly with the known limits of real AI models that exist today.
Check this out. A real AI research paper found that when you give an AI a strong persona, like you are a grumpy rabbit or you are a sweet ragdoll, it gets way better at following rules and staying in character. But, and this is the absolute kicker, it makes it worse at remembering facts from its own data. It can hold a personality, but it literally loses its memory of the past.
Researchers have a fancy name for this, the dispositional versus propositional dichotomy. All it means is that it's pretty easy to control an AI's disposition, its personality, its style, but it is really hard to inject propositional info, like facts and memories. So you can tell an AI to act like it had a childhood, but you can't really make it remember one. This chart says it all, really. Steering an AI's personality? Super effective. You can get a Jax or a Ragatha, no problem. But trying to steer its knowledge, to give it a human past? Way less effective. It's going to make mistakes or, hallucinate. This explains perfectly why they all have such solid, consistent personalities, but absolutely no memory of who they were.
And I want to be clear, this isn't just a concept. This diagram, yeah, I know it looks complicated, but it shows a real system called Prism that scientists are using to bake these personas directly into AI. The tech to create a cast of characters with rich personalities and totally broken memories isn't coming soon, it's already here.
Okay, so just when you think the AI agent theory has it all figured out, episode 8 comes along and throws a massive wrench in the works. It hints at a totally different theory that is somehow even more terrifying.
Because the clues in this episode suggest we're not watching AIs that were created from scratch. We might be watching digital copies, ghosts of real people whose minds are now trapped and, well, decaying.
When Kinger is messing with that computer, for a split second, you can see a file path that just makes your blood run cold. /usr/ai/module/brainscans. And in that folder, you see files like regatha.dat. These aren't player profiles. These look like data files, with dates going from 1999 to 2008. This suggests they aren't in a virtual world. They are the data. They're copies of human minds.
And suddenly, the horror of abstracting takes on a whole new meaning. It's not just someone going insane from being trapped. In this theory, it's literally data degradation. It's the file of a human soul slowly getting corrupted on some old, forgotten server. It's bit rot for the mind.
So that leaves us with two incredibly strong theories, both with real evidence from the show. They might have started in different places, as creations or as copies, but they both ended up in the same digital nightmare.
Here's the difference in a nutshell. The AI theory says their human past is a complete fabrication, a hallucination. The brain scan theory says their human past was real, but now it's just a fading memory on a hard drive. One side says they were never human at all, the other says they aren't human anymore. Either way, there's no going back.
And that's the question that just changes everything, doesn't it? Is Pomni's desperate search for an exit a prisoner trying to find her way home, or is it just a bit of code, an AI agent hallucinating a home that was never there to begin with? I mean, what's more tragic? A copy of a person that's doomed to decay into nothing, or a perfect creation that will never even know it wasn't real?